Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So, a lot to cover in this video. We're going to be talking about my ongoing experiment with sense restraint. But first, we are going to look at some drawings, and today I have two for you. The first is a sketch. So it was supposed to be of Snoop Dogg, but it just looks like a generic black guy. It is, I think, pretty good for my first attempt at a person. So I'll show it to you guys, and you can decide for yourselves. I don't know if you can see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Should have got a good look there. So yeah, I like to mix things up, like, I've been focusing mainly more on realistic ones, or, ones that are supposed to be realistic. But my sister asked if I could do an Elmo for her son, my nephew. And, I was resistant at first because I just wanted to focus on the realistic drawings. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And I did get one over to her. I don't have that to show you guys because I gave it to her. The one I gave her came out really well, I thought. But, it got me to realize that I really enjoy drawing the cartoonish ones more. I don't even know if I want to say more. It's just different. So, like, I like to mix it up, do some cartoonish ones and some sketches, some sketches of, like, real stuff. Keep the skills sharp, just try different things. But anyway, so today, right, I kind of have gotten addicted to drawing these Elmos because I had to do a few sketches of Elmos first because, what my sister wanted was a picture of Elmo that she could frame and put in my nephew's room. Well, you can't do that with one of my sketches on lined paper. And although she didn't say anything, it's obviously she wanted it colored in too. So, I did a lot of practice sketches to, like, try to, figure out how to do it because I didn't want to, like, just try to go right onto, nice white paper and color it in because I wouldn't be able to get it. I had to at least be able to get the sketch right first, or close to right. And, but from doing so many Elmo sketches, I kind of got addicted to it. There's something just very therapeutic about drawing Elmo. And one thing that I really enjoy is that, like with the sketches I draw, there's no real way for me to color them in because I don't know anything about shading. You would need, to do that, you'd need, like, either paint or colored pencils. And I definitely don't know how to paint. And I don't really like using colored pencils. But the things like an Elmo or something, you can color in with a marker and it looks really good. Like, it can really pop off the page and look good. So I've been drawing, so today I drew another Elmo. I'm not giving it to anybody. I just did it for me because I enjoy drawing them. And maybe I'll do a sketch later tonight. So here is the Elmo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to be serious, guys. You have no idea how hard that little bastard is to draw. It's, because, you see it and it looks so easy, right? And I'm not saying that, you couldn't do it a lot faster than me or even better than me. I don't know. But it is getting the proportions right. I mean, I've been doing it for a while now, and I just cannot get it to look like it does in the one I'm modeling it after. There's a how to draw Elmo thing online, and, like, that person in that video who may actually be a kid, I can't tell, does it in like 5 minutes. and like they're using a different technique than me, but still, and makes it look way better. And I've been doing this for like a week now, and like I said, today's one took me over an hour and a half, and that's typical. That's typical. Okay, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about sense restraint. Okay, first, like, I got into all this either, I can't remember whether it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, is when I started doing all this sense restraint shit. I've talked about it on this channel before, the whole idea of sense restraint. I made a video talking about a viewer who'd tried it out and, got back to me. But whether it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't know what it is. I was not in a great place. The depression wasn't horrible, but it was bad. And it was, it wasn't just that, I had depression or whatever. It's that I was getting just like a lack of pleasure out of things. Like I couldn't get pleasure out of anything. And, there's probably nothing wrong with doom scrolling all day if you're getting pleasure out of it and it's making you happy. But it wasn't. And it was like, after I quit my job, things had gotten even worse. I mean, it's like at my previous job, the job that I just left, I didn't really do that much. I had to take calls during the day. So it wasn't like 5 hours of surfing the web. But in between those calls, sometimes I'd be working on a quote, but mainly I was either talking to the other people in the office or I was surfing the web. So I didn't really think it would be that much different when I quit. But I guess the tiny amount of work I was doing there was keeping me sane, because I did start to feel worse. And, it got to a point where it was like, I was like, even surfing the web, my love, my passion in life was no longer giving me any pleasure. So, I was like, well, now would be a good time to try the sense restraint. And, I'm just trying to think of how we should talk about this. Okay, well, that's how I started, and then we'll come back to that. I can't remember if it was my previous video or a similar one where I'd said that my goal with this, or it's not even a goal, it would just be like an ideal state or a dream, because I don't know if it's ever going to happen, would be that you have so many days where you're either sleeping or in bed, let's just say 10 hours. On a day that I'm not working, or you're not working, you don't have any other responsibilities, okay, you have those 10 hours or whatnot in bed. And then maybe an hour for eating and chores. So you're up to, you've got 13 hours left. I said my goal would be to be able, for those 13 hours, to just sit there. Just sit there, look ahead, do nothing. 13 hours. And I had a viewer ask, why would you want to be able to do that? Which is a good question. It's a question I would have asked, many years ago. And it's because I want a strong, still mind. So what is a strong mind? Saying the phrase, whatever, strong mind, is really a misnomer. A mind can't be strong or weak. It just is. The mind is the mind, and that's it. What a mind can be is tamed or untamed. So, somebody with a strong mind and somebody with a weak mind, their minds are actually the same strength. The difference is the person with the strong mind has a mind that does what they tell it to do. So it's really a tamed mind. Think of it like a tamed animal will do what you tell it to do. An untamed animal not only won't do what you won't tell it to do, but may attack you and kill you. So, and while I am not a Buddhist, I I do think that Buddhism has some practical wisdom to help with developing a tamed mind. And my resource on this, the one that's been the biggest inspiration to me, that got me to really look into this path, is the videos from the Hillside Hermitage, which you can check out. One moment. There's two things that I want, a quick aside here. There's two things I meant to tell you guys that I'm recommending. This is just for entertainment purposes. The first, and I'm very strongly recommending this, is if you haven't seen it, the mashup of Matilda and Rob Zombie. It's a really good. I've never seen the Matilda movie from 2022, so I'm not totally sure what the reference is, but the mashup is perfect. I imagine it fits better than whatever the real song is. But really, what makes it is this girl who's wearing this red beret. And I was so impressed with her in this video that I looked her up, and I found out she's not even an actress. She's a professional street dancer, whatever that is, and like had been a backup dancer for Justin Bieber or something. But really all the kids are great. I would really recommend it. It's a really good video. The second thing I would recommend, and this may be a bit of a generational thing. When I grew up, I don't know if any of you have seen the film Office Space. But there's this like ongoing joke, which I didn't even find funny at the time, about how much the one guy hates the singer Michael Bolton. And Michael Bolton, though, and that maybe is kind of what started the meme, but the meme was that Michael Bolton was this hack, this like really lame hack. And he is lame and cheesy. I'm not going to dispute that. But I listened to some of his stuff, and he's actually really good. And the song that I would recommend checking out the song "How Can We Be Lovers." I think it's a great song. And it really holds up. Okay. Now let's get back to business. So what were we talking about? We were talking about a tamed mind. Oh, and then you can see this stuff in the Hillside Hermitage where they talk about this. And that's where I got the idea. So, I was thinking, about, like I said, I had gotten to that stage where I like doom scrolling wasn't giving me pleasure anymore. My whole life was just, after I left my job, was just doom scrolling and sports astrology. That was it, and then maybe occasionally I'll post a video on here. And again, that fine, if it makes you happy, it wasn't, so I was hoping, obviously I was thinking like, at first I was thinking, well, we can do the mushrooms or the acid to get me out of this, and then I tried that and it didn't do anything. And then I started thinking, well, what about salvia? But I haven't been able to find it yet, and that seems like it's kind of high risk. So like, there didn't seem to be. I've already done the ketamine, that didn't work, and so I'm just sitting there thinking like, what I'm doing isn't working, and then where, like, what is going on with me? And the truth is, it's most likely that my health issues are never going to improve. I'm always going to have fatigue. I'm always going to have problems sleeping. I'm always going to have low energy. I'm always going to have they're not horrible, but rashes all over. I'm always going to have asthma. I'm always going to have allergies. And, I'm not going to get any younger. I'm not going to get any taller. My financial situation isn't going to get any better. There's nothing that's coming to save me, So and I'm not saying any of this in a doom and gloom way. First of all, some of these things may improve, but they may not, and they may even get worse. And so I'm thinking, is there any way that I can deal with it better than I am now? But then, so that's one thing that, I like, well, that's one reason I want to tame mine. The other is that, developing skills and for spiritual practices. Like, and I can think of a lot of examples of this. Like there are skills that I would like to develop. Like, for instance, I've got a base in Spanish. I'd like to finish learning Spanish. Not that I really have much interest in language, but first of all, it would be kind of cool. And secondly, it would open up some career opportunities, you know? And so, one thing that I've always been interested in is learning how to juggle for real with like 4 balls. It's not like a big deal or anything, but it would be cool. And I can do it with 3 at a time. I just can't do it in the circular motion. And then there's things like, going on a healthy diet, which is, I can't do it because even though I feel a lot better on it, because I don't have the self-discipline. And, even though it would help in, other aspects of my life too. And then, the thing is, we talked about, like drugs for as like either mental health treatments or spiritual health treatments. Well, there's 2 spiritual, healing things that I've always been really interested in and that I've never been able to do. And one is long-term fasting. And the other is like long-term isolation or like a vision quest type thing, like what the Native Americans did was go out into the wilderness by themselves, no food or water for 3 to 5 days. And really, it's not, I mean, the Native Americans is where you get the name Vision Quest, but it's really all cultures have this. You can even read about stories like this in the Bible. I mean, Moses goes up, no food or water for 40 days in a mountain. Jesus in the New Testament, at least, I'm not sure about all the Gospels, but at least one of the Gospels goes out into the desert for also 40 days, no food or water. And if you ever see the film Last Temptation of Christ, you actually see what happens. He like goes into the desert and like draws a circle around himself and just, sits out there. And now obviously I wouldn't want to do it for 40 days because I'd die. Literally you can't actually do that in 40 days with you can do it without food, but not without water. But look, I'm not saying that like I could do that and maybe I don't have any spiritual experience. Maybe it doesn't cure the depression, anxiety, or even help them. Maybe I get nothing out of it. Okay, whatever. The thing is, I'd like to at least try. Okay? I would really like to at least try. But I can't. Because I don't have the self-discipline to just sit out there. I definitely don't have the self-discipline to do it without eating. Again, I would give up on half an hour in maybe. I don't know. It wouldn't be good. So yeah, stuff like that. But the thing is, I can't do that because my mind isn't tamed. I don't have I'm not able to just tell my mind, this is what we're doing. Like, I get it. You don't want to sit here for 40 days, or I'm not sorry, not 40 days, 5 days. Well, let's even say 3 days. You don't want to sit out here for 3 days. I get that. Okay, tough shit. That's what we're doing. We're going to be out here for 3 days, no food, no water. Deal with it. And I can't do that. Because my mind's not tamed. It does what it wants, not what I want it to. This would also help, if I had a tame mind, it would also help with career. I've really struggled to hold jobs. And I have gotten a new job. I'll be starting in the early part of May. And, if my mind is still, I'm going to have a higher chance of being successful at it. Was I'm just be able to tell them like, we're going to wake up on time. We're going to get dressed. We're going to get to the office at time. When we go there, we're going to work. And, like there's going to be days where I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm tired or I'm sick or I'm depressed. And okay, I'm just going to tell my mind, you just have to suck it up and we've got work to do and we're going to do it. And, I'm going to give it a shot, but, I'm certainly historically, I haven't been able to do that. No, when I get really tired or depressed or sick, I really fall apart. Like that week that I had COVID, I was like, I was non-functional. And like, yeah, I know COVID's bad, but it's like, yeah, I think that, it was really unpleasant. I think most people could have been more functional with it than me. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even call the places that I had interviews with and tell them that I needed to reschedule, because I was just like, I mean, I was just so apathetic, and I just couldn't do it. I guess I could have, but I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have that control or discipline to do it. To just say, like, to tell my mind, like, look, we've got these interviews scheduled. We need to cancel them. You need to cancel them, reschedule, whatever. I know you're not feeling it. I know you don't care right now, but it's our responsibility. It's what we have to do. And I couldn't or didn't, whatever you want to say, maybe both. And it's all my responsibility. I don't ever want to say anything like I'm not responsible, like it's just my mind doing things against it. Well, I'm responsible for having the untamed mind. I'm responsible for not dealing with it. And that's what I'm trying to do here. It all starts, the thing is, if there's any changes you want to make, it all starts with taking responsibility. And that's not responsibility for the results. The results are in God's hands. You might succeed, you might fail, but responsibility for the effort in the process. And, and if you don't take responsibility, you're not going to be able to make changes. Another thing is, like I said this earlier, my situation, my circumstances aren't horrible, but they're not ideal. However, they could get a lot worse. Things could happen. I could run out. I could, have a medical thing, run out of all my savings, end up on the street. My health could take a turn for the worse. I already have a tremor. If that gets worse, I won't be able to draw anymore. You never know when a depressive relapse is going to happen. So look, I'm not anticipating these things. Hopefully none of them come to pass, and then I don't know if I want to say they probably won't, because I really don't know, but they may very well not. And there's no reason to believe they will, but they could. And, bad things do happen, to people every day, and you don't expect it. So, if I end up in a really bad situation, I want to be able to deal with it. And I'll be able to deal with it a lot with a tamed mind. If I've got a still mind that does what I tell it to, then if, God forbid, I end up on the street, I'll be able to handle it better. And, not only will I be able to endure it better, but it may enable me to be more proactive in doing things to improve my situation. So anyway, yeah, but it was that initial depression and just like extreme boredom with everything, or lack of pleasure, dissatisfaction with everything, that got me, really trying to do this in the first place. So it started off, mainly what I was doing was, the first thing that I did was, like, I was so unmotivated, I couldn't do walking or drawing even. All I could do was, I couldn't even sit there. All I could do was lay in bed. First, that was all I could do. The interesting thing about that, but I wasn't sleepy. So I wasn't like, it wasn't like lying in bed, like, the sleepy kind of lying in bed, which can be very pleasant. It was not being sleepy at all. Tired, like always, but not sleepy. Laying in bed and, just doing nothing. And however, what I did find is that 20, 30 minutes, I already started to notice my mind slowing down. 20, 30 minutes of just letting the mind rest, and, not providing it with any external stimuli. And it was, so 20, 30 minutes, all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I am motivated enough to go do some laundry, to get out of bed and, like, at least do something. And so I started doing, like, a little task, eventually started, doing some walking, and then some drawing. And, it's interesting because walking and drawing both on their own, forget about sense restraint for a second. Walking and drawing on their own can actually be treatments for depression, and they've done studies on this. I'm certainly not saying either of them are a cure. They're not. Maybe for some people, maybe for moderate depression. But for me, both of them were very helpful very quickly. I think that, and it's a virtuous cycle, right? Because, like, with the walking at least, and I'm assuming it was the walking, maybe it was other stuff, but the walking at least, I right away noticed improvements in digestion and sleep quality. And it's like when the digestion gets better, the depression gets better, the sleep quality gets better. When those things get better, the digestion gets better. And it's like it all comes together. And again, not a cure, but very quickly making real concrete improvements. And so that was really good. Art, same type of thing. And hold on. So sorry, I'm trying to keep track of everything here. So anyway, but like I said, so the point that I'm getting at though, where I was going with all this is that at first I didn't have the motivation to do anything. Couldn't even do the laundry. I was just all I was going to do is like, okay, I just lay down. But that gave me, like I said, the motivation very quickly to start doing some stuff, and I was able to add more and more stuff to it. And so the yeah. Oh, right. So the thing that I've noticed though is, and no, don't get me wrong, I still do doom scroll, I still do sports astrology, but it's not all day long. Okay, and now I would be better off without sports astrology. Is probably not such a big deal, although I probably shouldn't do that either. But I would certainly be better off without any doom scrolling, I think. But that's not really the issue. It is like, because let's say you have a few drinks every day. That's fine. Let's say once a week even, you get totally hammered. That's fine too. Or if you're getting hammered every day, then drinking all day long, that's a problem. It's probably not a big deal to doom scroll or to, zone out and watch TV an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours a day. You're kind of pushing it on the 3 hours. But if it's all you're doing all day, every day, then yes, you've got a problem. And so that's what I've gotten away from, really quick. So I was, I've been, and one thing that I've noticed is there's a couple of things. First of all, when I first started down this path 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, like I said, I wasn't able to really get pleasure from surfing the internet anymore. I wasn't getting any pleasure from doom scrolling. And now I don't doom scroll very much. Like I said, 1 or 2 hours a day, maybe. But when I do it, I'm able to get some pleasure out of it because, I'm not doing it all day long, The other thing is that I'm able to get pleasure out of simple things that I couldn't really before, like drawing or taking a walk. Now, I'm not having the time of my life doing either of those things, but, they're enjoyable. They're pleasant. In some cases, I'm able to like what I like to do is in the middle of my walks, go down and sit down for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And, I'm able to do that, whereas like it's still not pleasant. It's not great, but, I can at least do it a little bit. I can at least just sit there, and I have gotten better at that. Just like sitting there and just being, just existing. And, still can't do it for hours, let alone all day long, but it's there. And I guess I should address it now while I'm thinking about it. I didn't specifically answer why would I want to be able to do nothing all day long. Well, it gets back to everything I'm saying. When you have, whether you spend all day doing it is kind of beside the point. I don't actually want to spend all day doing nothing and staring ahead. However, what I do want to do is to be able to do that. Because if I'm able to do that, then I've got, that still mind that I'm in control of. And that'll means that I will get more out of the other things that I do. If you can just sit there all day and be content, well, then it's no problem to go to work. And you can get a lot of pleasure from just taking a walk or drawing, something like that. So that's ultimately what it's all about. And so anyway, implementing this for, 2 or 3 weeks now, what changes have I noticed? Um, the mood is much better. It was because I'd forgotten about it, but where I was, those weeks ago, but I was not doing too well. I mean, I've been way worse, way, 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 way worse, but it was, bad. It was bad. Not horrible, not even close to as bad as it's been at times, but bad. So there has been an improvement in the mood. And that's like the most noticeable change. Um, Digestion is better. It's not cured. It's still bad. I still have to eat broccoli and beans and probiotic kefir every day. But as long as I do that, it's better. Now, that I'm not convinced that has anything to do with any sense restraint or any drawing. I think that that's 100% from the walking because I was pretty much sedentary before. Now I'm walking over 10,000 steps a day. That's probably all there is to it. So, I mean, I could probably just keep everything the same and then just walk 10,000 steps a day and still have seen a lot of improvements. My motivation and self-discipline is better. Like I'm getting stuff done, and my self-discipline, again, I'm still very low motivation. I'm still very unself-disciplined, but it's better than where it was. Like, I'm doing chores every day. I'm showering every day. I'm, you know, I'm getting out to walk. I am able to force myself to just sit there sometimes and just, do nothing. Like I said, I'm starting a new job in a couple of weeks and I don't like working. And I'm very nervous about this job as it is. Because, first of all, I hate first days. I hate them no matter what. Secondly, this is a job where this isn't going to be like my last job. This is a job where I have to produce. Like I'm commission only, and I've got to get in there and sell. And now I'm not. It doesn't necessarily have to be right away, but there's going to be a lot of stuff I have to learn. And I'm not looking forward to that either, like how to use the systems. And I'm going to have to make a lot of calls, and I'm going to have to sell. Now, there's no reason to believe I can't do that, but I certainly haven't had a lot of success selling these last few years. But the thing is, like, a few weeks ago, the different thing is like, as much as I hate first days, and like, the thing is, I don't like working at all. Even if, let's say, I won the lottery or something and didn't need this job, I would still keep it and still go to the first day. Now, I'm not saying I'd last longer than half an hour, but I'd at least go because I do want to do it. I do want to at least try it. And will the motivation last? Maybe not. I don't know. But at least there, and that is a big change, or at least a change. I don't know if you want to say big, but it's there. And like also, like I said, for chores was something like I give you. So like today, I first thing, I went on a walk, like a pretty long walk, and then I was able to, in midway point, force myself to just sit down, for 10 minutes, came home and, put my laundry away because I did laundry yesterday, but I never actually put it away. And when I made my sheets last night on my bed, I didn't put on the, I don't know, what do you call that thing that like covers up the mattress, but it's not a sheet. So your sheets aren't going directly on the mattress. They're going on, I guess it's called a mattress cover. I don't know. And the one that I have is a huge pain in the ass to put on because it's like some anti-dust one. And you have to like, slide the mattress into it and then zip it up. But I did that, so I took all the sheets off my bed, put it back on, and I put the mattress thing on, made the bed. And, did that Elmo drawing. Placed a sports astrology bet, which I placed a $25 bet and won $75 on it, netted $75 on it in Belgian First Division soccer. And, yeah, and then like, yesterday I did that load of laundry, or 2 loads of laundry, I think. And, like also I walked like over 12,000 steps yesterday. And showered, shaved, clipped my nails, and all this stuff is going to sound really mundane. It's not a lot. I'm not saying it's a lot. What I'm saying is that all of that, like what I did today, putting the mattress cover on, putting my laundry away, taking a walk, drawing, um, you know, that was more than I normally did in a week, before. And I did that all today, and I'm going to do more still. And this afternoon, I'll be taking another walk at least. And and I can really feel the difference. It's there's just the days seem so much more full. Like it used to be like, the week would end, the weeks begins, the week ends. And I just had this feeling of like, what, that was a week? What happened? Like, I think it all just kind of blurs into one. And whereas today, it feels to me like I thought today was Thursday, right? Because I just wasn't used to getting that much done, as little as it was. And I do feel like I'm better able to handle unpleasant situations. I'll give you an example. This weekend, my nephews, not the nephew who I gave the Elmo picture to, my other nephews and niece were visiting my house, and which is, first of all, I don't like, because it's just, chaos. And then, but the real problem isn't the chaos, although that's bad. It's that my nephews want to spend a lot of time with me, and I hate spending time with my nephews. I hate it. I hate doing it. I'm not a childcare guy. Uncle Ballface, we do this, and it's like, no, dude, no, I don't want to spend any time with you guys. But in my calmer mental state, I was able to handle it a lot better. Although one thing that made it easier is that, because they like to watch these really retarded videos on my computer, so that I can just put those retarded videos on and then just draw while they're watching them. And it makes it a lot more pleasant. But even without that, I'm able to do it. Not only that, but some of the time I spent with them, I actually ended up enjoying. Like, not a lot. And oh my God, I am so happy that they are gone. And no, I never want to spend any time with them ever again. All that's true. But I did at least somewhat enjoy it, and which I usually don't. And it's not 4 days in a row like it was this weekend. So that's an example. The sleep schedule is slightly improved. I'm not sure it's going to last, but I do seem to be going to bed and waking up at more reasonable hours. Like, at least, I have no way of knowing if this is going to last. But right now, I think last night I fell asleep a little bit before 3 a.m. I don't remember exactly. And then woke up at a normal hour. And then today, I did get hit with that midday wave of exhaustion. And I lie down in bed, but if I slept, it was only for like 10 minutes. It wasn't like the hour nap usually. And right now I feel okay. I'm still really tired, like always. But if I could get to the point of not needing a nap and being able to keep on a medium sleep schedule, those changes alone would be worth it. That would really help a lot. So, it's a start. I don't know if it's going to last. I've had false dawns before on that front, but it is a start. So that's one change we've noticed. We'll see if it keeps up. And the energy and fatigue are better. Now, they're bad. They're really bad. I have a lot of fatigue. I have very low energy. I do feel like, when I first started, I most I could walk was like 4,000 steps a day. Now I'm doing over 10,000. So I'm definitely stronger on the walks. When I was out playing with my nephew this weekend, I did notice a little bit more energy, although I was still really tired. Right now, I think that if I ate properly, within a few days, I'd have enough energy to go back to lifting weights, and maybe doing some, slightly more intense cardio. Not there yet. It would take a few days, and it's not going to happen because I'm not going to eat healthy. But that goes back to what I'm saying. If I could maybe develop, because first of all, I just don't want to. But secondly, I know I couldn't stick with it, because I don't have the self-discipline. But, maybe if the mind gets more tamed, I can do that. And, and that's actually it. Okay, that's all for now. See you in the next.